north. It's day 12 of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and some good news. Russia will hold fire and open humanitarian corridors in capital Kyiv and 3 other cities. This has been reported by Russia's news agencies. Russia announced a ceasefire in Kyiv, Kharkiv, Mariupol and Sumy. The humanitarian corridors are being set up reportedly at the request of French President Emmanuel Macron, according to Russia's defense ministry. Earlier, a Russian military strike hit a civilian evacuation crossing point outside of Kyiv, killing 8 civilians. Well, let's go across to Vishnu Shom, who joins us from Lviv, and Akhilesh also joins us with the latest on that phone call that's taken place between the Prime Minister and the Ukrainian President. But Vishnu, first to you, what more do you know about these corridors that are being set up, and a big relief for India as many of our students are stranded in Sumy?
I think the big focus at this juncture, Gargi, is the phone call which has taken place between Prime Minister Modi and the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. That has taken place for about 35 minutes, a couple of hours back. The government of India has mentioned that this was an occasion in which the Prime Minister thanked the Ukrainian President in assisting in getting Indian students and Indian nationals out of Ukraine. Remember, more than 20,000 Indian nationals in this country have already exited. As you correctly mentioned, there are still students who are stuck in Sumy. This is one of the areas which has been worst affected. But the hope now is that the humanitarian corridors, which have been opened up or announced by Russia on the basis of their latest ceasefire announcement, will facilitate the movement of the remaining Indian students out of Ukraine. It's been very, very difficult for these students. Their supplies have been running out. Even proper water was not available. They've been heating snow to actually have water to drink in many cases. But the hope now is that with the government of India having moved buses and their officials to some of these areas where these Indian nationals are still there, the Indian students, they can get out as well. But I can tell you today that it's an important day as far as Indian foreign policy is concerned, because we've seen the Israeli Prime Minister, we've seen the Turkish leader Erdogan, we've seen France's Macron speak to President Putin and also reach out to the Ukrainian leadership. Narendra Modi is doing that today. Remember, India has an independent diplomatic stance in this. So the question is this: will Prime Minister Modi be in a position to influence a lasting peace? Because this country, the situation is desperate. I've been spending the morning in a small parish. I've been speaking to dozens of young women with absolute babies, their husbands left behind because they have to fight. They are on their way to Poland. Some don't know where they're going to go. They don't know if they're going to see their loved ones at all. I've spoken to a Vietnamese student who's not been able to contact her parents back home at all. So it's a desperate humanitarian situation which extends far beyond the Indian students who we've been focusing on. And we need to focus on the tragedy that is there in this country. Will India have a role in facilitating a lasting peace in the Ukraine?
All right, Vishnu, and yes, a humanitarian crisis there. The UN has said 1.5 million people have fled Ukraine, and look at the weather. It's snowing where you are right now. Akhilesh, give us more details of this phone call that's taken place between the Ukrainian President and Prime Minister Modi. And as we mentioned, there will be a phone call later with the Russian President Putin as well.
Well, Gargi, this is the second time when Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spoken to the Ukrainian President since the Russian invasion on Ukraine has begun. And in this phone call, which lasted around 35 minutes, Prime Minister Narendra Modi appreciated the Ukrainian authorities for ensuring safe passage to the Indian students who are stuck there for a very long time. And of course, as we have been talking, and Vishnu also reporting from the ground, that India's main concern remains students, around 700 students who are stuck in Sumy. And of course, it's a big challenge. And last night also, the Indian embassy has advised them to remain on standby so that they can move on a short notice. And after this phone call, we know that now Indian students are in a position, or they are trying to move out of Sumy. So it's very important development as far as India and Ukraine is concerned. And of course, Indian Prime Minister will be speaking to the Russian President shortly. And we know that India has extended humanitarian help to Ukraine. And India wanted a limited ceasefire so that the evacuation of all the students who are stuck in Sumy can be, made feasible. And that's why it's very big development that now the Indian students who are stuck there will be able to move out of Ukraine.